We are in the middle of a 12-part series on the masterclasses that I'm giving for 2024. I'm giving y'all little snippets into what we're going to be discussing in those 2-hour-long masterclasses. Today, we're going to be talking about hiring and retention of new employees and how important this is to your success. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Table Needs welcomes you to listen in as Christian and Tracy, co-owners of Restless Coffee, spill the beans on their debut year in the food truck scene, uncover the secrets behind their secret menu, how they continually provide stellar customer service, and why building a strong community following is so important. Click the link in the episode description to watch the video for free. Hiring and training and retaining employees is key to any business success. Unless you're a one-man show, and I certainly hope you're not a one-man show because that certainly does put a limit on how much money you can make. To get an idea of what kind of employees you need and where you're going to find them and how you're going to train them, first thing you got to do is figure out how many do you actually need. Food truck always has an owner. So can the owner handle a certain amount of sales? Most likely. But what does that number look like? Is it $30 an hour? Is it $50 an hour? Is it $75 an hour? Whatever that mathematical number is, once you consistently exceed that number, you need a second person. Then the question becomes, how much can they handle? And it's not mathematical addition. So if one dude handles $50, 2 dudes could handle 100. It doesn't work that way. It's more exponential. So one dude handles 50, 2 dudes can maybe handle 125, 130 before it starts to get stressful and they can't keep up. And that's what you got to work towards. What can one person handle effectively and still maintain a good quality of food and a quick speed of service? And then at what point does it start to diminish to where they can't take orders while they're still cooking? And whatever that dollar amount is when you need that second person. And then what to the two of them as a team, what can they handle to get into the plateau before you need that third person or the fourth person? So how many people do you need? Obviously, you'll need at least one. So what is that person going to do? You got to define exactly what that person is going to do to help you. And we're talking about help you initially. So if you love cooking and you want to hire a cashier, that's awesome. But you got to know how you're going to train that cashier. And that cashier will eventually have to be taught on how to cook because they need to be able to help you when you're bogged down and they have nobody to wait on. So if you're going to hire a cashier, what does that cashier's job description look like? And write it out. I want them to wait on every customer that comes up. I want them to suggest to sell one product every order. I want them to upsell. I want them to make drinks. I want them to bag food. I want them to process the credit card. List everything you want them to do so that they understand when they get into the interview what the job position or the job role is going to be. And you get to define that because you're the food truck owner. Once you define what the role is, you got to figure out how you're going to train it. Now, I talk about training on a couple of other podcasts, but real quickly, it is a series of steps. Those steps are based on the word STAR, S-T-A-R, which is show, tell, allow them to try, redirect, and then you can throw another T at the end to make it start, and that last T is to thank them. Okay, so show them. You're going to show them the job in real time. So if you're going to have them be a cashier, you just say, hey, watch me take this order. And then you do it in real time. Hi, welcome to the food truck. Might take your order, please. And then you listen. You key in the things on the POS system. And then when they're done speaking, you say, hey, would you like cheese on that burger? Would you like an order of fries to go with that? Okay, your total is going to be $12.16. And I'm going to give you a little message on your cell phone, let you know when the food's up. Can I have your cell phone number, please? You input the cell phone number. You're showing the cashier in real time how to take that order so that they have an idea of how quickly they have to learn to be. Then the next step, tell. Now you're going to slow it down. The next guest that comes up, you're going to say, hey, guest, I've got a person I'm going to be training, so I'm going to do this a little bit slower so I can explain what I'm doing while I'm taking your order. And the guest in most cases is going to say, absolutely, train away. And then you go through the same steps, but this time slower so the trainee can understand what you're doing. You explain how the POS system works, how to total it, how to run a credit card. You're explaining all those details. And you may have to explain it 2 or 3 different times to get all of the details in there on a single order. Then you're going to give them the chance. Hey, I'm going to be right here beside you. The next guest that comes up, I want you to take that order. And then you just remind them very quietly, say, hello, welcome to the food truck. And that's the key. You can't be loud and overbearing because they'll get embarrassed because they forgot a step. And then you pointed it out while someone was watching. You may just point at the keyboard, point at the cheese key, point at the fry key to remind them, oh yeah, I need to ask. And you need to continue to do that all throughout the time they work for you. It's called coaching. Think of all the professional athletes that have coaches and trainers. They know what they're doing. They make $1 million a year, but they still got coaches and trainers that are helping them to stay at their peak performance. You got to do the exact same thing for your employees. So once you have shown them, you've told them, you've allowed them to try, and during that process of allowing them to try, you're going to redirect. Hey, don't forget. You got to suggest a sell. Hey, don't forget, you got to run the credit card this way. Don't forget to get the cell phone number. You're redirecting anything they may have forgotten. When you're all the way done with the day, you want to thank them and say, thank you so much for paying attention today. We're going to do this again tomorrow. So that's the STAR START system. Now, where do you find employees? Because that seems to be the biggest hang up everybody has. Where do I find good people? And then the thing that usually follows when they say, I can't find good people is no one wants to work today. Well, I've been doing this since 1977. I can tell you that every manager in every decade since 1977, I would imagine probably even going into the 60s and 50s and 40s and 30s, we're saying about the young people of that era, no one wants to work. So just get that out of your mind. There are people out there that want to work. There are eager people that want to do a good job and make money and move through the ranks of society so they can make big money. But they got to start somewhere. So you can look for your potential superstars in culinary schools. The vocational schools have some type of hospitality program. Get with them. High schools may have some type of work program as well. Get with them. Look on food service job boards and certainly social media. Now, here's one that I like. Become a part of homeschool groups. Homeschool children, in most cases, homeschool kids are the smart children. They're the ones that the parents have been working with since they were little to educate them and to help them to be productive members of society beyond the babysitting that goes on in public school system. Whatever reason they chose not to put their kids in public schools, they're making up for it by being really good teachers. You're going to find a whole bunch of stellar kids in a homeschool program. So don't be afraid to join those groups and say, hey, I've got a job opportunity for, and then explain what you need. A cook, a cashier, an expediter, somebody to wave a sign, whatever you're looking for. You always got to be networking. You work with people. Most food truck owners have a full-time job somewhere else. Talk to your coworkers, talk to your subordinates, see if they've got some kids that might be willing to take on a job. Same with churches, same with social organizations. Wherever there's people and where there's people that have kids, you want to talk to them and say, hey, I got job openings. You want to value attitude over skill. Attitude cannot be taught. Guess what? Skills can. Somebody that has the humble attitude and wants to learn and is very quiet is going to be a superstar for you at some point. They don't have to know how to wrap a sandwich, how to cook a burger. They don't have to know how to even talk to people. That's your job. You got to teach them. I would much rather have a blank slate employee and me teach them everything than to have somebody that's coming from McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King, thinks they know it all because I'm just a little food truck and thinks they're going to teach me how to do something on a food truck. So again, attitude over skills. You want to conduct interviews and take it serious. What I do when I do interviews is I try to get at least 4 to 5 different people coming with the idea of hiring one out of the 4 to 5 people. I'm going to pick the best person out of that group of 4 to 5 people. If I have multiple positions, then I am looking at 10 or 15 or 20 interviews to hire 1 or 2 people. If you've never conducted an interview before, there are a number of websites out there that explain what you're legally allowed to ask and not ask. I suggest you look at those before you go do interviews. And then I also suggest that you practice. Have your partner, have your spouse, have a good friend, be the employee, and you ask some questions. Get some practice. I've done literally thousands of interviews over the year, but I still remember the very first one I did and how clumsy it was. I wish I'd have practiced. You want to make sure you have a training program that takes them through the process. We talked about the STAR system, but you want to have that training program that not only trains them, but cross-trains them. So once they become proficient as a cashier, you're going to teach them how to do the grill. You can teach them how to do the fryers. You're going to teach them how to expedite. You're going to teach them how to do something else besides the one job. And my last little tip is going to be you want to foster a team environment, which means you listen to ideas and then implement the ones that make sense for your business. And then if you can't implement them, you'll explain why so they don't get hurt. Because you want there to be that free flow of information. It's always going to be there. There's always going to be somebody who's got a little bit more experience. So let's listen to what do they have to say. And then if it makes sense, do it. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it. One of the experiments we did a long time ago, and it turned out to be something that they rolled out system-wide. We were having trouble hiring people. We couldn't get enough employees to staff a restaurant. So we changed the layout of the kitchen, and we changed it in a big way. Made it to where 2 people could run it, whereas before it was taking 3 people to run it. Now, this required moving equipment and cooking smaller batches more frequently because we didn't have enough holding space on one line, but it ended up working out. It worked out so well that the company changed how their systems worked and made all the new restaurants have a single line. Don't be afraid to try something that somebody else suggests. Because at the point that I made that change in my restaurant, that company had been around 45 years, but they had never tried to do everything off of one line. Let's talk about compensation just really quickly and wrap this up. Compensation needs to be, number one, the exact same amount to start, no matter what the position is. A cook is equally as important as a cashier, as equally as important as an expediter, as equally as important as somebody that only does prep. Why do I say that? Do without one of those positions. See how stressed you become because you don't have that one position in place. Do pay people exactly the same to start. Now, you can have a clear-cut path to raises, and then the cream of the folks that you hired will rise to the top and make more money. But as far as the basis, all jobs are equal. And again, if you don't think they are, do without one. Because if you can do without it, why are you hiring for it in the first place? Have that clear-cut path to raises and also a clear-cut path to bonuses. Doesn't have to be a big bonus, but it has to be a achievable, clear path that they can make more money, and then you got to teach them how to do it. But they got to have some reason to come back to work tomorrow. The compensation has to be worthy of them. So I recommend that whatever your line cooks in any sit-down restaurant, I'm talking a fast casual sit-down restaurant like Ruby Tuesdays or Applebee's or TGI Fridays or any one of those, whatever their line cooks make, that's what you hire at. What that does for you is it prevents you from having people jump ship over a 25-cent raise. If the local wage is $17 an hour, you pay $17 an hour. You figure out how to make it work. It's your business, but you don't want to hire somebody at $15 an hour, give them a couple of months worth of training, and they go leave to go to TGI Fridays because TGI Fridays pays $17 an hour. You don't want that. So there you have it. There was a few tips on how to build that stellar team for your food truck. Remember, we're in the middle of 12 different episodes on important parts of running a food truck. So come back tomorrow for the next part. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow because you know I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.